Hey guys, Dustin with the PPC Pros going over part 6 of our family law case study. This is going to actually be a pretty quick one, but one we don't hear about very often from other agencies. A lot of people don't talk about this, so I don't know why, but I think it's pretty helpful. So ROI hack number 6 that we were able to use to help our family law case study client, once again, triple their leads, cut their cost per lead by 70%, has to do with overpaying unnecessarily for keywords. So once again, if you haven't gotten a copy of the PDF of this case study, there'll be a link below the video. Check it out if you want more documented stuff. But let's go ahead and hop right into to ROI hack number 6 and look on my screen over here. Basically, here's the idea. So we've spoken to Google about this, higher reps at Google, not people you would just call on the support line, but like VPs at Google. And also after running millions and millions of dollars through campaigns for all kinds of industries, not just for legal. Once you're about position 1.6 or higher on the page, they say you're paying a premium. Now, it's not documented anywhere, but this is what we've been told, kind of hush-hush, and also seen with our own experience, is that if you're in position 1.6 or higher on the page, you are paying a premium to secure that spot. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't be there for a day and you're going to all of a sudden pay higher prices forever. It's just while you're there, there's a very good chance you're paying a premium to be there. Now, sometimes it makes sense to be as high on the page as you can, right? Position number 1, you want to get the lion's share of traffic, impressions, clicks, hopefully leads, right? But you're going to pay to be there, right? We already know it works on an auction system. If you don't know, Google Ads works on an auction system where you're bidding against the next person that wants to be in that position. And of course, quality score is a factor, but all things being equal, you're going to be paying more to be in that spot most of the time. So one of the things we looked at during this audit for this client was, what is the average position of keywords in the account? Are they paying that premium by being in that really, really high, 1.6 or higher spots, so 1.6 to or 1.0 to 1.6, right, the top spots on average? Or were they in a more conservative spot, like positions 2 to 4, and even 3 to 4 would probably be better, where you're going to pay a little bit less to be on that page, but you're still above the organic results. You're not at the bottom of the page most of the time. So, and I'll show you how we can check that as well without trying to do like a million Google searches. So if you look at the screen over here, you'll see this is the campaign view, and we can do this on 2 different levels. You can do it at the campaign view. You can also do it at the keyword view, but the campaign view gives you a much better kind of big picture way to look at it to see what is your average keyword position. So you can see that the names of the campaigns are not showing, but if you look, if you look right here under average position, there's a column you need to add. So if you don't have this column already enabled, what you want to do is click on the columns tab right here, modify columns, and then they just moved it to under competitive metrics. This thing will decide to open up, and you can see average POS, and that means position, guys, not what the POS can mean for other things. So you would just choose that column. Let me back out of here real quick. And you can see right here that the average position for a lot of these keywords, so on average for the account, is 1.5. Now, there's some branded terms in here, right, for their company name, which of course are usually going to be in a much higher position than other campaigns, right? But for your regular search campaigns, which is what these top ones are that are now paused, you can see we're at position 1.4, 1.4, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.1. This one's at 2.5, not so bad. But yeah, once again, they were paying a premium to be in this spot, and it didn't have to be, in my opinion. So this is what you want to look for at a kind of a macro level for the account. And then what you could also do is, if you click on the keyword tab, we're not going to dig through a lot of keywords here, but what you may want to do is sort by impressions or by clicks or by cost, right? Because you want to see, okay, what are my biggest keywords by impressions that I'm paying for, that I'm getting shown for? What are my biggest keywords by clicks? So keywords I'm actually paying for. And then of course by cost, which ones are costing me the most money? And you want to look at those keywords because those are the ones that are probably going to move the needle. If you got, 100 keywords that get very little clicks or traffic in your position 1.1 or 1.2, you can change them, sure, but they're really not going to affect the account much because they're not getting a lot of action. But for the ones that are getting a lot of, especially clicks and a lot of cost, right, then those are the ones that if you adjust them a bit, you could move the needle and lower your cost per click on those keywords, still get a good amount of the traffic, but not be paying the premium that you were paying before. And you can see these first couple keywords, which, divorce, child support laws, divorce lawyer in their state, divorce, all that. I mean, not great keywords. We already talked about that in one of the other ROI hacks. But you can see, position 1.1, 1.4. This one's a 2.3. It's not so bad. 1.3, 1.6, 1.3, 1.5, right? So these guys were paying a premium for a lot of these keywords. Of course, a lot of these ROI hacks kind of compound, right? Because a lot of these keywords sucked, as we saw in the last one of the last ROI hacks about low intent. And then, of course, some of them are broad match, which was ROI hack number 4, I believe, which is where we talked about those keywords. So, you take bad keywords, low intent keywords, and you bid them up really high on the page, and you're paying a premium. You've got bad on top of bad. So anyway, back to what we're talking about. So one of the other things that people sometimes want to do is they want to be that high on the page because they're afraid that, well, when I do Google searches, sometimes I only see 2 ads on the page. So I want to make sure if, there's only 2 ads, I don't want to be number 3 because I'm at the bottom of the page. Well, first of all, that changes all the time. It changes search by search. Google's constantly split testing the search results. You're not going to see the same layout for a given keyword all the time. It's just not going to happen. But there's a handy dandy way you can do that. So I'm just going to go back to the campaigns tab, but you can use this for the keywords as well if you want to see individual keywords. And that is called the top versus other segment. So that is basically, if you go under segments, this little guy right here, click on that and you choose top versus other. That just means right here, as you can see the definition popped up, it says ads shown on top of the page compared to other places in the page. I think that should be on the page, but whatever. If you click on that, basically it means how often was your ad above the organic results versus like below them. And back in the day, we had the side ads, right? So on the side of them. And so this will tell you, if we look at just this first campaign right here, you can see top, we got a total of, looking at impressions, I think is the best way to do this because it gives you an idea of how often when an ad showed it was there. You can see for this particular campaign, there was a total of 9,876 impressions. And if you look at this, you can see that 6,000 of those, 6,400 of those impressions were at the top of the page. So if we look at that, we see there's 3,000 left that were in some other position. Even with this high position, you can see it's a 1.7. That will tell you that a third of the time they were still not at the top of the page, meaning there may have only been one result for keywords in that campaign. Now, if you look at it on a keyword level, it gives you a little more information. The whole point we're trying to make here is it really necessary to be at position 1.45 to be at the top of the page? In this case, it looks like a third of the time, when they're at 1.7, they were not at the top of the page every time, right? So, and of course, it's going to be different for different keywords, but this is one way you can tell how often an impression is shown above the organic results or below it, and then you can adjust over time. So one thing you could do with this, and what you should do as far as like an action item to take away from this ROI hack, is reduce your bids if you can afford to do so very incrementally, right? So if you're in position 1.5, let's say, and you want to get to position like 2.5, right? You still want to be kind of up there, but you don't want to pay as much. And you don't want to lose the impression share above the organic results. What you can do is reduce your bid slowly, like once per week, reduce it by 5%, right? And just see as that reduction happens, what your average position is over the next 4 or 5 days. And then as you do that, you can look at this top versus other segment and see, okay, before we did this, we could tell we had 6,400 impressions at the top and 2,900 below the organic results or in some other place. Once we made this change, did that number increase? Are we now below the top of the page more often, or did it pretty much stay relatively the same? If it stayed relatively the same, great. You may have just saved yourself some money. And then you do that again. And you find that happy medium over the course of a few weeks or a few days. I'd probably recommend over once a week you do this just to see where things line up. And then eventually what will happen is, if you were paying an extra 10, 15% premium, maybe more, to be in that position 1, especially if your quality score sucks, you're going to be paying an ultimate, a lot higher premium than somebody with a really good quality score. You can begin to lower that cost per click over time, over just a matter of a few weeks, and not really lose the benefit of being at the top of the page. So of course, you could do it with bidding. Of course, you can increase your quality score. That's a whole other conversation for another time. If you have a bad quality score, you're going to pay more per click regardless, and Google will not want to show your ad as often at the top of the page if they can help it. So they're going to make you really pay. So that's something to keep an eye on too. But basically, this is what you want to do. Go in the account, take a look at your average position, especially on your top keywords, and just look at it from this perspective and see what you can get away with without losing that top position on the page. So I think you'll end up saving probably about 10 to 15% of your ad budget if you're constantly in really, really high positions. I think we're able to shave off another 10% of the ad budget for this client just by making these adjustments over the course of a few weeks. So, I mean, that's not a small number for doing a few things like that. It's really hard to quantify, to be quite honest with you, because you're doing other things in the account that will affect the bids, but we estimated to be somewhere around 10% a reduction in what we had to pay per click to get the same amount of traffic above the page. So hope this tip will help you. Once again, this is ROI hack number 6. We got one more coming. That's the last one. So check it out. Thanks for watching, and talk to you then.